Good morning, everyone. You're listening to PNE Daily Radio for Thursday, the 4th of September, 2025, part of the TalkSport Network, and sponsored by Trade Windows Preston. Today's show, we're going to run through the interview that the LEP did with Peter Ridsdale yesterday. If you want to go and check out that interview, it is on the LEP website, and I'll put a link in the show notes. But for a first time in the history of the Daily Radio, we do have a guest. Nathan from the PNE flagship. Nathan, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, I am good. I am good.
Good,
Thanks.
good.
Right. So we're gonna get into the interview from Peter Ridsdale. Just a quick one. We are doing a raffle for your choice of either the white, yellow, or blue North End shirt. So if you want to enter that raffle, it'll be in a couple of weeks' time. Head over to Patreon, www.patreon.com/North End Pod. But enough of the plugs. Let's get into the interview from Peter Ridsdale. Nathan, I know you've listened to most of it and read.
Yep.
Well, you've read the article as well, haven't you?
Yep.
What are your overall thoughts of it?
Overall, I think it's really insightful. It gives it sheds a bit more light on how it works, especially the points where he says, you get your budget, if you will, start of July, and we've paid off this player. And I think it also kind of sets expectations the next season because he mentioned, this player's going to be paid off, this player's going to be paid off. So now you're starting to think about next season. Is it going to be a bit more ambitious? The players coming in, we're going to have a bit more money freed up. So it's kind of half and half. You're relieved to hear some things, but now you're also expecting other things next year already. Do you know what I mean? So it's a mixed bag, definitely. But definitely appreciative. When he comes out and says these things, I appreciate the transparency. It's what you want from the club, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think he alluded to that in his interview where he was like, look, not a lot of people come out and do these sorts of things, a lot of
Mm,
clubs. And I do think it's good. A lot of people will be listening to us now thinking, yeah, but he's lying about this. Whether or not he's telling the truth on everything, I'm sure he might be. We don't know. But
yeah,
nonetheless, it's still good to hear from, do
100%.
you know what I mean? To hear from him. And I think some of the stuff that he said, it makes sense, doesn't it? Like we do. I think the most interesting thing was, look, we get I think I said this in our WhatsApp group, didn't I? The budget ain't going to change. And the budget is that they give X amount of money for Peter Ridsdale to run the club, and that is what they do. And whatever's left over from that to spend on transfers and wages, they do, which is probably why for the last, what feels like 5,000 summers, we've spent between 1.5 to 2 million, and that isn't going to change. And I think one of the frustrating things, which we're going to get into this subject in a sec, is that there doesn't seem to be a room to budge on that because in one of the key points on the interview was that Ridsdale said, look, we could only bring in one player on deadline day because of the budget. And
Yeah.
to me, that player is Tom Cannon, clearly, that he was talking about. So if that's the case, because he did say that, look, there was interest in Tom Cannon. Tom Cannon, he believes, does want to come to North End. I'm surprised he actually went that far to say that.
Yeah, me as well.
With him not being a player, but it's answers for us, isn't it? If we're getting all these rumours and messages on transfer deadline day, it's good to
Yeah.
think, yeah, these were actually true. But what I will say, so if this budget can't be flexible, and clearly Craig Hemmings isn't going to put more money in for the likes to get over the line as Tom Cannon. On top of, we've said this repeatedly now. I
Mm,
know people on social media don't like this. We do think North End have had a good window. However, the icing on the cake would have been the striker.
yeah.
But what happened to this 5 million, £6 million bid for Tom Cannon 2 years ago? It's almost like that was completely out of hot air. Were we just going to spread that over the money for the next 4 years or something? But what's
Well,
your take on the Tom Cannon, what he spoke about Cannon?
yeah, I think it's positive. Look, the fact that he's even bringing it up, I don't think he would go to the extent of just making it up. I think there is some truth in it. I personally think it stalled or it didn't go through due to simply finances, and I know people think, well, we sold Ockles and everybody refers to the Hugo situation. We sold him for X amount, wasn't reinvested, and they're already comparing it to the Ockles. We made money, let's reinvest it. Unfortunately, at Preston North End, it's not that simple. As you've just said, there's a limited budget every year, which is 15 million, which you said. They've alluded to 12 million they put in, and the rest is put on transfers and wages and whatever. And it's you can see through the history every summer, it's always been that amount. It's never really drifted too much. And what he's doing is just steadying the ship. Obviously, there's rumours of takeovers coming in, but Yeah, I think I saw Cannon, Sheffield United wanted all the wages covering. Our wage budget is about 20 a week, apparently. I can't see us breaking it just for Tom Cannon at 25. Last time he was here on loan, was we paying all of it? Probably not. Probably a percentage. And in my opinion, I've said before in our WhatsApp group as well, it's one player. Yes, he's going to be influential. Yes, he's going to score goals, but I'm just personally disappointed that there's no other striker out there within the budget, within our parameters that we can attract. We've signed what, 4 or 5 lads on loan now from the Prem teams. They're not going to be on less money, are they? They're going to be on a decent wage. And you've mentioned the bid for Cannon, but what about the bid for the lad from Wickham that's moved on? What about the lad from Portsmouth? They were what, £3 million. So where's that
Yeah.
money? Was that money ever there as well? Do you know what I mean? So I just like to say, if we did sign them players, either of them players, would we have made the rest of the signings?
Yeah, he did
So
actually. He sort of alluded to that, didn't he? Because he said that, look, he was like, the money wasn't all going to be up front. He didn't say by name, but reading between the lines, you can say it was probably Kone.
mm,
The money wasn't all up front. It would have been spread over a couple of years, and it would have meant that we wasn't able to strengthen the squad as a whole as much as we have done.
exactly.
Um, but what I would say, so you were saying then about getting other strikers. So we were saying we would have bid for like your likes of a Kone. That I think the thing is with Cannon, which is why personally I was frustrated. We know that he almost guaranteed goals at championship level. So
Mm,
I'd almost prefer a Cannon. Right? I know if Cannon comes to North End, he's going to get as many goals as Reese if he's fit. He is probably you'd say he is
yeah,
going to
yeah, yeah, I agree with
realistically.
that. Yeah,
Whereas Kone, I do think Kone might have done, but it is a little bit of a gamble. But do you know what? It's quite interesting what you were saying there. So what I'd like to know what has changed. So he actually said in the interview that George Hodgson asked in the interview, look, if we make a player sale, will that money be allowed to be invested? And Ridsdale almost replied to say, well, yeah, obviously it would be. And I was listening to it and I was thinking, well, hold on a sec. When we sold Jordan Hugill for that 8 or 9 million, that wasn't the case then. So
yeah.
he almost said it as if like it was just it go without saying that we should know that that's the case. So clearly something has changed or we're being lied to because when Jordan Hugill was sold for 8 to 9 million, that money wasn't part of the yearly budget. So he made out that if we sell a player, for example, we sell Osmajic for 10 million this year, okay,
Mm.
then that 10 million, he said he wants to make sure that the fee is enough so that it can then be reinvested in the squad and that the fee wouldn't just go directly to someone else. That would stay within the club to be reinvested. So what I want to know is why was that not the case in 2018? What was different then?
This
Why
is the
was it
thing
not
with
reinvested
Ridsdale.
then? I know we're going back to a long time ago, but it
No, no.
sort of like cancels out what he was saying unless something's
Yeah,
changed.
but the thing is you've got to understand the position he's in. He's going to say it for a couple of reasons. A, to help with ticket sales, marketing, drum up interest, blah, blah, blah. But also, he's not going to shoot himself in the foot when he's in that position and say, I want everything put back in the club. Because when it doesn't happen, he's then got to answer that. So he's not going to just come out categorically and say that.
He did
But
though.
also,
He said it would be reinvested. He basically said if we sell Osmajic, I'm paraphrasing, if we sell Osmajic, that money will be reinvested back into the team. He said that. I know you didn't get that far with the thing. So to come out
yeah.
and say that, if we sell Osmajic now for say I don't know, in January, say if we sell him for 10 million and we don't reinvest that money,
It's easy to say, but all he'll come out and say is, say hypothetically we do sell him, he'll just come out and say, well, that was then, and unfortunately finances now have changed, blah, blah, blah. It's easy to go back on it, and people say politicians answer, and that's exactly what he'll do. He'll just say, well, that was then, this is now, things have changed, finances ain't gone to play. It's easy to backtrack from that. Just because he said that. He's also said about competing in top six. Emmons also said, I know it was Trevor, but he also said we're going to have this big push on into the championship. No one remembers this. No one like
we
quotes
do.
him in saying
We
that.
don't
Well,
forget.
exactly, yeah. But do you know what I mean? Just some fans will believe and remember what they want to go along with the narrative of the club. And if he comes out and backtracks on that, they will buy and lap up every word he says, unfortunately. So it depends on what type of view you want to take it. Are you going to believe everything, go along with everything, or you're going to start being a bit skeptical? I think it's a bit of both. I think he's got to do a job and he's in the middle. and he's passed on information from Emmons myself personally. But yeah, this is what
Yeah,
it
I
is.
do. I do feel. Obviously, I don't read all the comments that we get on stuff because, well, I don't have the time in the day to do that.
Yeah,
But I do think that I'm not saying it's from our episode. I'm not saying it's, but I feel like there's almost a bit of a realization come in recent times that it isn't all on Ridsdale. If you'd have gone 6 months ago, nobody was complaining about Hemmings. It was about Ridsdale. And I do think this summer has been a realization. A little bit. Some people will be listening, going, "No, still can't stand him." Whatever. I think this
mm,
might have been a realization of, look, this guy, like he said in the interview, has been given, I don't know, say 2 million. I know we'll add the extra million on for paying Mads and Osmajic deals
yeah,
off or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
right? He's had 2 million, okay, and I think pretty much everyone is satisfied with what we've brought in. To bring in 12 players, some good free transfers, small England under 21 international now, or he
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Valentin, we've all been impressed by. The 4 Premier League loans. I do think there's been a little bit. There's more people I've noticed anyway coming out and saying, no, it's not necessarily Ridsdale. It's what else can he do? I know in the past there's been money spent that's just been ridiculous. The lad from Coventry that we got when we didn't need a midfielder, he was never going to get into the team, Eddie Pearson Gallagher, that was wasted. I'm sure there's people screaming countless other times where that's happened. But I think if you just isolate this summer, Ridsdale, Heckingbottom, they've done well. I think they've done well. My only thing would be, and I'm curious what you think about this,
Mm,
apparently Heckingbottom was adamant he wanted Armstrong in. I
yeah.
personally think the midfield was strong enough, but maybe it's a case of Armstrong's too good to not get in the door, which is what it sounds like. But maybe a sacrifice one midfield player to get that striker. What are your thoughts on that?
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Thor's not been playing as much in friendlies. He's kind of been in and out, hasn't he? So does he think he's good enough? I don't know. But I thought exactly the same. I was thinking we're signing X, Y, and Z players on loan. And let's be honest, in similar positions to Mads, to Thor, to other players, are they really necessary? I think majority of North End fans, if you'd have said, look, Armstrong or Cannon, who would you want? I think the majority would have chose Cannon. I really do. And
I would.
yeah, exactly. And I just, I don't know. Again, why were we forced to choose? This is hypothetical, but there are other strikers out there. We know we've mentioned before, we knew Reece was leaving since the start of last season. Again, if you want to believe him. So why have we not had a striker in place? And this is another point that people have said as well. So we shouldn't have to choose. It's not as simple as that. It's a case of we should have known the finances and known the players. Who knows? We've missed out on other strikers we didn't know. He also said some of them there's a bit of truth in. Some of them we didn't know who are those players because we was linked with Lyndon Dykes at one point, weren't we? There's other players as well.
Robinson, I think he was linked with at the start of the summer.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't
Kone,
know.
Lang.
Yeah, you don't know who's alluding to, but I would definitely want a striker over Armstrong. Listen, I've heard he's a great player. He's a fantastic player. He also said that Moisey was a bit reluctant to even let him out. Some people inside Everton was like, should we do it? Should we not? But I hope he's a good player and everything, but how influential can he be from a defensive mid compared to a striker? Do you know what I mean? If Millie gets his ban, we're all going to be sat there going, I hope we'd have got a striker in. So it's all what's going to happen with Millie at this point, but I'd have preferred a striker myself personally.
Yeah, yeah, same. I mean, you look at the midfield that we've got. It's just off the top of my head. We've got what? Whiteman, McCann, to Dawson, Dobbin, Mads, Devine, we've got Armstrong. I
Carroll,
mean, it's a lot.
young
Yeah,
lad.
Carroll. He probably
Yeah.
won't play much of a part, will he? But that's a lot of for three central midfielders in the formation we play. There's a lot of people that aren't going to be happy about sitting on the bench. I do think it's a case. We'll probably watch this Armstrong and think, "Wow, we couldn't turn this lad down." I'm really excited about the signing. Like you say, if he's defensive midfielder, I've spoken to my mate as Everton, that is his best place position.
hmm
He
hmm
can go forward as well. He's not going to be
Yeah.
a divine type that far forward. But
Mm.
who drops out of the team? Because McCann is probably most North End fans' favourite player. Whiteman has been revitalised this season and is your captain. So really,
100%.
one of those two is going to have to drop out of the team to make way for him, you'd think.
Well, this is it. It's the same point about Dobbin and Devine as well. Who's gonna miss out? These are loan players. that are here for the season. And I know we've got an option to buy, but realistically, are we going to be spending 4.5 million? We've never done that. I can't see that happening. We're sacrificing first team players in Mads, in I don't know, McKenna, Whiteman, or Thor, or whoever for these loan players, and I'm just conscious of these loan players go back, and we've still got these first team squad contracted players who haven't been playing, whose attitude might change, whose performances might change, and then what's going to do? I'm just thinking the bigger picture. This is one season we're talking about here. Um, I don't know. I hope they can all be integrated, but like you just said, the amount of midfielders we've got, I can't see how that's going to happen. I expected some more midfielders, sorry, to go out, but it's not happened. So I'd be intrigued as to how it's gonna work. Maybe it's going to be cup games and bench appearances and everything, but I
Yeah.
just think some of them players aren't going to be happy with that, especially like to Dawson. He's just been named in the international squad, hasn't he? Are you going to be happy with that? He was playing well towards the end of last season as well. Remember that goal against Portsmouth? He was just getting going, and then now this. I just think it's going to hit a knock, and reading as much as I have about players, when these other players come in, they almost feel replaced and the red does go down. And I'm just worried about it being a knock on confidence. And for Mads, he's that player that needs an arm round him. He doesn't need to be in and out. He needs a consistent run of games. So time will tell.
I've got to be honest. I think you know my thoughts on this. We spoke about it privately.
Yeah.
I don't think Madsen to Dawson are good enough or consistent enough to start in a team pushing for the top half of the table every week. So I'm not worried. I think Dawson and Mads are squad players personally. I know a lot of people do love Mads, but I feel like, look, he's been here for 2 years. Has he really act for me like Divine? I tell you what, do you know what just come into my head? We were saying about these midfield players.
Mm.
Maybe not signing a striker means on the game. Say Smith ain't going to play all the league games, is he? You
Mm.
can tell he's 33 years old. So
Mm.
maybe you have Osmajic and maybe a Dobbin or Divine off him, which frees up another midfield position in the centre. But cause we've also for Brad Potts as well. He's coming back from injury.
Yeah.
There was that's what is that 8 central midfielders, 7 or 8 central
And we
midfielders.
rejected a bid from Huddersfield for him as well.
Mm,
So the frustration would be if it's another three going out on top of all the rest, Reece that we didn't capitalise on that 8 million. I know it was a couple of years ago, but and then this is the perfect point. This is what causes frustration when we reject bids for that for £8 million and even £500,000. I know we saw what more, but when we reject them type of bids, and then in the next breath we hear, well, I've not got the money or well, I've not got the funds. Do you know what I mean? That's the exact frustration from fans when we were rejecting bids or wasting money, like not to use him as a scapegoat, but Ockles, the amount we sold him for and compared to the amount we bought him for, I know he's undisclosed, but where's that money gone? It's a waste of money. We're wasting money. We're not using money, every penny wisely. There isn't like look at Thompson even in this window. He was injured.
mm.
Do you know
Another
what I mean?
central midfielder.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like why are we wasting money on A, another midfielder, and B, that's got a bad ankle supposedly. Why is it necessary? Why was it necessary to let Ledson go? It's supposed to be a similar type of player. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I know he's going to League One, but there's not much difference in them. Why is it necessary? And I know you mentioned then the squad players, just to go back a bit, but Hughes is for me. I know Lindsay's not starting every game, but he's another one. I know Brady's not starting every game, but again, they're not top players that are going to get into top teams that are competing. I've said in the group before, so I mentioned about Mads and Thor, but they're in the same argument, if not more. They're aging as well. Do you know what I mean? Cunningham, look what happened with him. As soon as he left, he went back to Ireland. I just don't think they're good enough. But that's again due to finances. We've got to get that balance, haven't we? We're not going to have a team full of
Yeah.
Thierry Smalls, are we? So yeah.
I know you with Hughes. What I think I like about Hughes is one, he's been here for a long time, okay, but he can play left-sided centre back. And I know we don't particularly want to play him. Say if we get injuries, I don't know, Christmas period, you got
Mm,
Hughes who can play at left-sided centre back. He can play left wing back. Ideally, we don't want him to play there, but that's two positions he can play. And with Potts as well, he can play right wing back. Like if Potts is starting right wing back, I have no problem with that. Potts is in midfield, so I like the fact now you can have is it 9 substitutes you can have now. I like
yeah.
a Potts and Hughes in and around the squad, and whereas like someone actually sent us we got a message about this. I've got speaks. This was mainly for you. I think I passed it on to you actually. And someone was saying because I was criticizing to Dawson's performances this season. They were saying, look, to Dawson last year, if you remember, excelled during Whiteman's injury, and I think McCann might have been injured as well when he was playing that
Yeah.
defensive midfield role. And now Whiteman's playing the defensive midfield role. To Dawson's playing a little bit further forward. So, do you
Mm.
know what I mean? I don't know what you think of that. Maybe we've been a bit harsher, right? Me particularly on to Dawson.
I think not necessarily that we have, but I just think it proves the point even more that he needs the run of games, he needs that attention. Look at when he was playing more consistently and look at his performances, how they picked up. Look at how he acted. I mentioned that Portsmouth goal. He loves that. He needs that. He doesn't need to be coming on for 10, 15, 20 minutes. He can play defensive, he can play forward even. I could see him playing in that number 10 role. Passing balls through. He's got that ability. Same in Mads, winger number 10. Do you know what I mean? He can do that as well. He is versatile as well. But I just think with Thor, I can see him fitting in and I can see Mads fitting in. I'm just conscious that these loan players do well, they don't stay permanently, and then we've got them. And they're not going to pick up form again, or their attitude ain't that great, or their head's gone. Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm conscious about. Just the bigger picture, really.
Yeah, you know what'll happen though. They'll all go back next summer. There's not a
Mm.
chance we'll get any of them back.
No, no.
And then we'll just have a fresh batch. Look at the right wing back situation. We had a new right wing back. What feels like I suppose we had Potts as well, but like I don't know, well, left wing back Alvaro. Then we had on the right Sepp.
Sep,
We had Kesler Hayden. So
Kane,
we was
yeah.
always getting a win back every. So what'll happen is Divine will go back. Dobbin will
Dobbin,
go back. They'll probably
yeah.
have good seasons for us. Maybe they
Mm,
won't. Maybe they will. They'll either go
mm,
the way of Sam Greenwood and get a move abroad because they're
yeah.
probably not good enough for the championship.
Yeah.
Or we'll see them next season at a Middlesbrough, like when we had Archer. They'll then progress up to a Middlesbrough
Like
and
Kessler
stuff
Hayden.
like. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what'll happen exactly,
yeah.
won't it?
I
So
agree.
they'll get
I agree.
new players in. But to me, if you're trying to loan players, like you say, in the positions of players that you've already got, Mads, you've already got Tadarson, and we're saying, to me, that's almost Heckingbottom saying, I don't fancy these lads. I think imagine if you like you say if you're mad to Arsenal, you're thinking, hold up, I'm now behind the pecking order of this lad from Tottenham and this lad from I nearly said Everton, Villa. Is it
Yeah,
Villa? Is
yeah.
it Villa any Dobbin?
Yeah.
So
And
it
Everton
is.
Armstrong, yeah. Yeah, no, you are right. And that's the thing, I've read a lot of players' books and blah blah blah, and that is the attitude of the players. It is a bit childlike and they do think, I'm being replaced, so to speak, rather than getting their head down, working hard, blah blah blah. That is the way that they will feel. Um Maybe he does think that way, but maybe the finances aren't there to just sign another player like he wants. But like you say, I've used the example about the right back situation. You can say the same about striker, Cannon, Archer. We even had like Delap. I know he's a bit more of a winger, but we've even had him, in an attacking position. So it's the same thing. The difference is with a striker is cost money. They cost the most money because they're winning the games and they demand the most wages. And then just to go back to what we said at the start, these players are going to be paid off by the next window. We said that in this interview. So maybe there's going to be a bit more money freed up to get a striker in, and maybe this window isn't getting by, but you would say every other position is filled, is done. It is only the striker. So next time we are going to focus on that striker. We tried to get one in now, it's not worked. Go back in next time we can. When the money's there, we've got a bit more money to play with and focus on just that striker. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, I think what they'll do, he did mention January, didn't they? I personally think
Mm.
what'll happen is they'll try and move Keane on in January and then try and get a striker then.
I was
But
surprised
then
he didn't go, to be honest. Very surprised.
yeah.
He's not
But
played hardly any friend. I know he's been injured, whatever, but there was rumours of people coming in for him, Bolton, I think, or Wigan. I'm not too sure. I can't
yeah, it was
remember.
Bolton, wasn't
Bolton,
it?
yeah. And it's like if he's not playing because he's a very similar player to Smith. He's a hold up. He's a very similar player. So again, bringing in Smith, like you mentioned with the other players, it's kind of like, well, where's he going to fit in? And then again, this brings in the frustration. He's still getting paid. So get him out. Get him out and get a striker in on loan. Make the difference, to getting Cannon to afford his wages. I know it's not that simple, but it
Keane will
kind
be
of
on a big
is.
wage. He signed, if you remember, towards the deadline last year, West Brom were in for him
Yeah.
and he stayed and then signed a new contract. So Keane
Contract,
will have
yeah.
come in from Wigan and he's had a
Mm.
contract. He'll be on big wages, I think, Will Keane. Because to get him to not go to West Brom to stay here, they will have had to offer him a
This
decent
is
set of
it.
wages.
This is it.
But we were saying, will Keane get the minutes? Osmajic, obviously, they said in the interview, the hearing is this month. Now,
Mm.
that doesn't necessarily, obviously, the result isn't going to be this month. That's just the hearing. So that could then, hopefully, you hope it's quick, but that could then get to October.
Yeah.
I mean, if there is a ban, hopefully, if there is a ban, hopefully it's in January, and that really does force them.
Mm.
Well, we'd like to think force them to bring another strike. But I thought this was interesting. We spoke about this before because I know that you've not listened to this part. But
Yeah.
so Ridsdale said that an agent, Osmajic's agent, came to him and
Mm.
said that he's going to get an offer made for Osmajic in the morning. He never got back to that. And I listened to it. I thought, oh, that's like one, like you said, I'm surprised that he revealed that to everyone, but he did
Yeah.
actually confirm that it was the club that he was rumoured with as well. So clearly, Osmajic's agent, why wouldn't he? His agent, he's gonna get a nice little pay off the agent, and if he can get him a
Yeah.
move. But that just shows Osmajic potentially not here for the long term because 18 months left in his contract in January. But I just thought it was interesting that they said that about his agent
Yeah, I think
getting
I
him
think
a
that's the
move.
agent's job. It's his job to drum up interest. It's almost like a reminder to him as well to say, listen, there is a bit of interest here, and he does need to be playing. You need to show solidarity with him. He's got this hearing coming up. Don't bench him. Don't not play him. Stick by him, which they have done. I think there's an element to it as well. But that's his job. That's what agents do. They'll do that. It's probably agents that leak these stories as well, isn't it? To get the most out of it, so they get a bit more when they sign on. As a player, that's what you want. You want your agent to get you the big moves, to get you the most money, and blah blah blah. So yeah,
He did
I'm just
say, I've not I told you this bit, sorry to interrupt you.
that's
He
right.
did say that the club that was rumoured, did make contact with Ridsdale about making an offer, and they made an inquiry basically.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine. I think it's fine to make an inquiry, and that to me, this is the frustration. All I'd say to that is obviously you don't know how serious it is, but even Heckingbottom said himself, there's been no bids, and we don't need to sell. So we don't need to sell. Right. But then we're saying we haven't got the money to go and sign Cannon or to go and sign whoever.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's where the fans' frustrations stem from. But all the other thing I say about Ridsdale coming out is yes, we appreciate the transparency. Don't get me wrong if you're listening, Mr. Ridsdale. But I just
I
think
don't think he is.
some
Anyway,
things
go
are
on.
best left, because it's like when he's made a comment about challenging in the top six. Some things aren't best said because this what comes back to bite him. Be honest, be open, tell us we appreciate it, but some things we don't need to know because they just come back to bite you. They'll be quoted again, and then you'll just get frustrated at the fans, and it's just this ongoing thing, isn't it?
I'm not
So
having that. I'm not having
no,
that.
I
No,
don't agree with it.
hey, well, we've got a podcast here. I'm not having Mr.
All right,
Ridsdale
keep it
either.
coming then. Sorry, yeah.
Peter, keep the news coming. It's giving us something to do. It'll give us a few more downloads anyway. Keep the news coming. Reveal everything. Come on. How much did we offer for TC? Let us know.
50p a
You want to
week.
let us if you want to let us know, Peter, in the comments. That'd be perfect. But yeah, I think we've gone on more. Do you know, we had an unplanned talk about the midfield that I didn't even have that in my notes about the midfield. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Usually on this podcast, it's just me wittering into the ether. But yeah, we're going to make this available on YouTube. If you're listening now on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. But we will be back in the morning for our first in fan interviews, where we're basically just going to talk to Nathan, ask him a few questions. First game. We'll waffle a little bit of nostalgia about some old time players, which I love to do. But yeah,
Sounds good.
thanks everyone for listening. And yeah, thanks for joining us, Nathan. And we'll speak to you all
No
bright and
worries.
early in the morning.